I was challenged on my stream to a 1v1. I told the chat, choose whichever game you wish, and lo and behold, we landed on Stumble Guys. This free-to-play, yet competitive obstacle course game where you run, slide, and fall your way to victory in this 32-player elimination turned out to be the best environment for settling chat disputes. And with the ability to pull in friends immediately on all platforms, you can challenge them in private lobbies over and over. Now, if you fancy yourself gamer, you can actually jump into rank. Yes, there's a rank mode here, fellas. Elo exists here. And let me just say, these guys get sweaty, dude. We came across a guy with 800 hours, and let me just say, he never lost. Dude was kind of sus. This has been a great game for us, guys, and it receives constant updates. This month, Stumble Guys is actually going to be launching a new map called Stumble Rumble. We'll be jumping on that event as well. So if you're interested in trying out this game today, you can check out our link down below or use creator code Aztecross, which we would greatly appreciate. And if you got time, feel free to jump in our lobby. Just come up with some different names other than Aztecross, okay? We had like 20 different Aztecrosses the last time we did this. Machine guns are a weapon type that have often found themselves questioning their place within Destiny's meta. Are they meant for damage? Not usually. And considering just how strong Prismatic is and our abilities, why even use a heavy for ad clear? These are perfectly reasonable questions. However, when a machine gun rolls with the right perks, it ends up being an absolute powerhouse. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the new solar rapid fire machine gun, Speleologist, which actually means a person who explores caves, which kind of makes sense considering this past episode we were exploring caves. But let's start with our perks. In our left column, we have Inline Action, Heal Clip, Stats for All, Deconstruct, Firmly Planted, Slimeways, and Envious Assassin. In our right column, we have Strategist, Adagio, One for All, Target Lock, Surrounded, Incandescent, and Killing Talent. Now right off the bat, guys, you've noticed some absolute killers being present on this machine gun. Let's start with some of the ones that stand out though in that third column. We've got things like Envious Assassin. We're defeating targets with other weapons before drawing this one, transfers ammo to the magazine from reserves. This effect essentially overflows the mag based on the number of targets defeated. And the way this works is that primary weapon kills overflows the weapon by 10% up to 100% at 10 kills. And once you reach that number, you can swap to Speleologist to activate the perk and overflow your mag. Now you can do this twice, thus giving us the ability to overflow our magazine even further, capping out at 300%. For instance, Speleologist here can hold up to 219 rounds in the mag. The special weapons actually work the same as primary, but instead of it being 10% per kill, it's actually 20% per kill that it overflows the mag, which means special weapon kills is even better for Envious Assassin. Now, it's important to note that a lot of ammo changes were recently implemented in the game, and this includes a change that causes you to lose all overflow stacks of ammo if you change anything in your loadouts, from weapons to perks to mods, subclasses, anything that has changed will purge your overflowed ammo. So keep that in mind. Now, the enhanced version of Envious Assassin bumps those overflow percentages by 2.5%. So for instance, for primary weapons, it's 12.5%. For special weapons, it's 22.5%. Now, the next perk I want to look at is Stats for All. Not a bad one. Hitting 3 separate targets increases weapon handling, stability, and reload speed. Essentially, you get all these host of benefits from 35 handling to 35 reload speed, 10 stability, 10 range, yada yada. This all lasts for 10 seconds upon hitting 3 separate targets, with the enhanced version lasting for 11 seconds. But this takes us to our other third column trait, Heal Clip. Reloading shortly after dealing a final blow grants cure to you and nearby allies. Essentially here, guys, if you reload within 5 seconds of a kill, you will give yourself cure times 2, and you will give your allies cure times 1. That means 120 health for you and 60 health for them. Now, the enhanced version of Heal Clip widens that window there by 0.5 seconds, giving you a little bit of wiggle room there to get that reload in. Now, normally this perk is a no-brainer. Just about every weapon we see with Heal Clip, we're like, hey, this is it. This is the one. Call it a day, fellas. GG's. Thank you for coming by the review. Like and subscribe. But for a machine gun, it's kind of awkward. You see, machine guns are built primarily to deal with large groups of ads. As such, they have high ammo magazines and usually a very slow reload. Heal Clip is a perk that encourages getting a kill and then reloading in a pinch. The problem is that a machine gun normally takes 1.5 years to finally get a reload in, which means it's a good chance that if you do need that reload to get your health back, you are already dead. You see, the health bump doesn't come while you're reloading. It comes at the end of the reload. And the reload here is slow. Christmas slow, fellas. Which means Heal Clip on a machine gun, in my opinion, no bueno. Now, another perk that's extremely interesting, as it's present here in the third column as well, is Deconstruct. Now, I feel like a lot of people immediately write this perk off. And for the most part, I do get it because normally it's present in the same column as our damage perks. But it's present here in our third column. Now, for those not familiar, Deconstruct states means that dealing sustained damage grants bonus damage against vehicles and constructs and refills ammo from reserves. Damage with primary ammo or against constructs provide additional progress. Constructs include barricades, turrets, stasis crystals, and other objects created in the field. Now, on Speleologist here, it takes 19 shots against constructs or 35 shots against normal enemies within 6 seconds to activate this perk, with its benefits lasting for 4 seconds. Now, these benefits being a damage increase and a partial reload. The damage, keep in mind it only applies to constructs and vehicles, and inside of Destiny, those are loosely defined. For example, most Vex do not take bonus damage, but a Cyclops does. That's right, guys, a Cyclops. Somehow it's coded as a vehicle, and we do 40% more damage to them. Then you have actual vehicles like Pikes and Interceptors. They take bonus damage, as well as turrets and fallen walkers. And it gets even jankier considering that every now and then, normal enemies will actually fall under that vehicle category. I'm looking at you, Daughters of Oryx. But how much extra damage does the perk offer? Looking at our damage here, on a boss level Cyclops, at base we deal 3,231 damage. With Deconstruct being active, that jumps up to 4,523. Guys, that is a massive 40% increase in damage, which is very potent, especially considering that it's in our 3rd column, which means, yes, you can combine this with another damage perk in our 4th column. Now, any damage that's dealt to a construct while the buff is active instantly refreshes the perk. Now, for the second part of the perk, the part that auto reloads the weapon, this does not necessarily require a special enemy. Against constructs here, upon activation, every 19 shots thereafter, Speleologist will load 8 shots into the mag from reserves. And what this means is that in one mag, when going up against a construct, and if you never stop firing, you'll have this reload trigger 5 times. This is pretty nice because that basis means you could fire 113 shots before reloading. This is like an invisible 82% mag overflow buff. Now, when you're up against normal enemies, it will only trigger twice, taking about 35 shots each to get that partial reload proc. So as you can see here, Deconstruct is definitely meant for constructs and everything that falls within that umbrella. You can utilize it outside of that, but with the ability to not recreate ammo from thin air like it could do pre-final shape, I would really only lean into Deconstruct in those very niche scenarios. But let me just say, in those niche scenarios, it pops. And the enhanced version of the perk also buffs up that duration from 4 seconds to now 5 seconds. Now let's take a look at our right column. First, we have perks like One for All, a fairly easy perk to proc on a machine gun, considering all you have to do is just hit 3 enemies and boom, you've gotten a 35% damage buff, which lasts for 10 seconds, with the enhanced version making it last for 11 seconds. Next, we have Incandescent. Defeating a target spreads Scorch to those nearby. More powerful combatants and opposing guardians causes Scorch in a larger radius. Now, without a doubt, guys, Incandescent is probably one of the best traits you can have on a solar weapon. We're talking free AoE damage on kills, which is fantastic for ad clearing. At base, Incandescent applies 30 Scorch to nearby enemies. You pair that with Ember of Ashes, that goes up to 40 Scorch stacks. Now, what that equates to is that just with 3 kills, adjacent enemies will ignite, which with artifact mods like Solar Fulmination, this makes those kabloomies even better. Now, there's also the enhanced version of Incandescent, which when you pair with Ember of Ashes, this will increase our Scorch stacks to 45. Now, our next perk is Target Lock, where your damage increases the longer the weapon remains on a target. Now, this is the perk that has made Retrofit Escapade pretty much the go-to machine gun amongst legendaries when it comes to boss DPS. How this perk works is that while damaging a target continuously, your damage starts to ramp up. Now, essentially, each shot that you land within 0.2 seconds of the last will contribute to this. And as you get deeper into the magazine, your damage will begin to increase substantially. This damage buff starts at 16% after shooting just 12% of the mag, but will actually cap out at 40% more damage. It's arguably one of the best single target damage perks in the game. However, to reach those heights, you need to shoot 111% of your magazine, which means it's only doable with perks that overflow our magazine, or in Retrofit's case, with 4 times the charm, it gives you the ability to reload more shots to then continuously fire. Now, the enhanced version of Target Lock actually goes even further. That buff cap of 40% actually increases to 45%. Now, another fantastic perk that's on machine guns is Killing Tally, which is also present here on Speleologist. Kills increases this weapon's damage until it is stowed or reloaded. What a trait, right? The OG perk for 21% Delirium. It's on multiple machine guns now that we love to use. Things like Commemoration, Hammerhead. Essentially, though, every kill gives our Speleologist here a 10% damage buff, capping out at 30% at 3 stacks. The reason why this is so good is that you can maintain this buff. Get 3 kills and boom, you're good. You don't have to refresh. As long as you don't reload, you'll maintain that buff state. This is especially good for folks that are rocking things like Actium War Rig, where you can just continuously reload your weapon and maintain that buff. Now, the enhanced version of Killing killing tally increases our inventory by +10, which is like the equivalent to having tactical mag selected. So definitely worth enhancing. Now our final damage perk is Surround. This weapon gains bonus damage when 3 or more enemies are in close proximity. Now this is a flat 40% increase in damage when you are within 15 meters of 3 or more enemies. Now the enhanced version goes even beyond this. We're talking a 47% increase in damage. This is by far the best damage dealing perk. You just gotta be surrounded, which is a bit situational. Now before we talk about the gun roll here, and of course DPS numbers, we do need to mention the origin trait, Radioloria Transposer. Rapid final blows causes targets to explode into a pool of Radiolarian fluid. Now let me just say, it's nothing too crazy. I wouldn't look at this origin trait and be like, yo, this is the best, man. It's Witherhort on steroids. By no means are you getting that kind of lethality from this, but the pool does last for a little bit, approximately 4 seconds, and just maybe an ad might step in long enough to get killed. Now, let's talk gun rolls. When we talk about gun rolls here, guys, we also need to look at the damage per second, the DPS values. And I really do think that Speleologist here presents something truly unique, but not for the reasons you might expect. I'm gonna start with some of the minor perks. Our barrel perk is not that big of a deal. Choose whatever you want, but our mag perk, things like tactical mag, extended mag, and even a pendant mag are all really good options. Personally, I like a pendant mag as it sits between tac and extended. Now, I think if you want to go the more traditional route for a machine gun, by all means, things like Envious Assassin with the ability to overflow your magazine by 219 rounds, paired with a damage perk, it's pretty solid. For ad clear, pairing it with Incandescent is also very, very good. And I think you really can't go wrong with either Kill and Tally, Incandescent, in combination with Envious Assassin if you're looking for a solid solar machine gun to clear ads. However, if you're looking for a combination that's going to put out some pretty hefty DPS, it's actually the trait combination Deconstruct plus either Target Lock or Surrounded. Now, this is a role suited for DPS and can actually reach insane heights when, of course, Deconstruct procs. For instance, at base, Speleologist has a 1 mag total damage of 248,784, and across a 4.8 second firing period, that equates to 51,830 DPS. Now, if we factor in Deconstruct's partial reload against a normal boss, our 1 mag total increases to 303,312, and our DPS is still the same here at 51,321. Now, if Deconstruct was to proc, meaning you're hitting a construct or something there, maybe a Cyclops, and you're getting that 40% damage buff, well, fellas, our 1 mag total jumps up to 539,147. Our DPS increases to 72,368. Do you see these jumps here, guys? 40% is nothing to sneeze at, and you never know in Bungie's spaghetti code what's going to work with Deconstruct and what's not. Now, if we were to combine this with, say, Target Lock, this actually increases our 1 mag damage to 723,643. And get this, our DPS jumps up almost double of base at 97,133. You can actually take this a step further with Surrounded if you can keep Surrounded proc, and this increases our total damage to 792,546 with a whopping grand DPS of 106,380. Guys, that's a massive amount of damage. All of this is coming from a little old legendary machine gun. Now, we do have to be honest with ourselves. 9 times out of 10, Deconstruct is not going to be useful for you. And I know that the role that I'm recommending is only going to be useful for those very niche scenarios. But what happens if we do find ourselves where something is coded as a construct and they happen to be a dungeon boss? Or maybe we find ourselves in an encounter where we're surrounded by Vex Cyclops. Or perhaps it is a giant tank that's placed in front of us before a boss room. See, there are places in Destiny right now where you could utilize such a role. The issue is that most people probably won't utilize it because they don't have to. But if we do find ourselves in a contest environment where something is coded as a construct, that Deconstruct Target Lock role or that Deconstruct Surrounded role, fellas, it's gonna put out. So guys, that is our review for this machine gun. Surprisingly, it possessed something that I find valuable. And that's pretty much what all these weapon reviews really come down to, guys, is what is the value of this weapon? A lot of people kind of just take this blanket approach. They're like, okay, is it meta? Is it not? But I really do like to find the value in all of these different weapon roles. And yes, there are times where a weapon is just bad. In Speleologist's case, though, it does possess something here very unique. And if we do find ourselves in the future where we have that right boss, I cannot wait to see how many of you actually kept this role right here. Fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching. And as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.